Take a look at this satellite image of a neighbourhood in Rafah, the southernmost region in Gaza. This is the Tal Az-Zuhur neighbourhood in March this year. Now take a look at it 1 month later. All of the buildings have been completely razed to the ground. Now let's take a look at the Al Junaina neighbourhood. This is before and this is after. Again, all of the buildings are gone. Or how about the Tal al-Sultan neighbourhood? It's the same here as well. These are not isolated cases. Neighbourhoods and homes all across Rafah have been completely demolished by Israel since they ended the ceasefire back in March. And the result is that Rafah, which was once home to an estimated 275,000 people, lies largely in ruins. But this destruction hasn't stopped here, because in recent weeks it's gotten a lot worse. Just take a look at this map here. The green dots represent the homes Israel has destroyed in Rafah as of April 2025, and the black dots, they show the homes destroyed in July. That's approximately 12,800 buildings in just 3 months, which for reference is nearly double than what it was before. So why is this happening? Why is Israel clearing out all of these homes? And why has there been a rapid increase recently? Well, it probably has something to do with Israel's recent announcement. The Israeli defense minister told reporters that around 600,000 Palestinians living in the coastal Al-Mawasi area would be transferred to Rafah, the location for what he called a new humanitarian city for Palestinians. And he added that they plan for the entire civilian population of Gaza, which is more than 2 million people, to be eventually relocated there. And here's the catch: when people enter, they won't be allowed to leave. So what they're doing is basically concentrating the entire population of Gaza into a small camp from which they will be imprisoned and not allowed to leave. A concentration camp, if you like. And if this sounds terrible enough, then I have to warn you, because it gets a lot worse. Because this is only the first step in Israel's true agenda here. Have a look at this report from Reuters. According to them, they saw a leaked proposal which showed that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the controversial US-backed organization in charge of aid in Gaza, had detailed plans for this humanitarian transit area that Israel is building. And here's the catch. The plan describes the camps as a voluntary place where people could temporarily reside, de-radicalize, reintegrate, and prepare to relocate if they wish to do so. Now let's just focus in on the phrase, prepare to relocate if they wish to do so. It reminds me of the phrase that various Israeli officials have been floating in recent months. Voluntary migration, which is the idea that they will encourage Palestinians to leave Gaza for unspecified third countries as a way to depopulate the land. And it seems extremely unlikely that Palestinians will be given any fair choice about whether to leave or not, because according to Michael Sfard, one of Israel's leading human rights lawyers, people in Gaza are under so many coercive measures that no departure from the Strip can be seen in legal terms as consensual. So the word voluntary can be likened more to forced. And so many observers, experts, scholars, and politicians have called it out for what it really is: ethnic cleansing. And it seems that these concentration camps in Rafah, on the border with Egypt, will be central to carrying out this ethnic cleansing campaign. Now, politicians and governments in the West have been recently more outspoken about these plans, calling them red lines or sticking points or something that must not happen. Some of them are even acting shocked at the idea, like it's a radical or unrealistic idea that suddenly came out of the blue. But the thing is, this plan is not new. It has been in the works for years, and the evidence has been there for all of us to see. For example, take this leaked document compiled by an Israeli government research agency known as the Intelligence Ministry, which was dated October 13th, 2023, just 6 days after the October 7th attacks. The document stated that the evacuation of civilians in Gaza to Egypt's Sinai Peninsula would yield positive long-term strategic outcomes for Israel. At the time, Israeli ministers played down the report, calling it a hypothetical scenario, saying it was merely a conceptual paper. But this is one of the many pieces of evidence that this ethnic cleansing campaign is a premeditated plan and has been on the mind of the Israeli leadership for a very long time. For example, it should be noted that this paper did not exist in isolation. Another paper released by an Israeli think tank, the Misgav Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy, suggested that the current situation presented a unique and rare opportunity to evacuate the whole Gaza Strip in coordination with the Egyptian government. Or take the words of leading Israeli officials and political figures, such as the finance minister Bezalel Smotrich, who have said very openly that they support this plan. And if you're still not convinced by their words, then just take a look at what actually is happening on the ground in Gaza. Aside from the demolitions that have been happening in Rafah, we've seen Israel systematically destroy nearly all of Gaza's civilian infrastructure: homes, hospitals, electricity grids, bakeries. We've seen Israel completely restrict basic food and medical supplies into Gaza, leading to famine and disease. And we've seen the mass killing of civilians even in so-called safe zones. All of this, observers say, to break the will of the Palestinians in Gaza, to push them into despair, to create a man-made humanitarian catastrophe so bad that it is completely unlivable. The evidence overwhelmingly points to Israel's agenda being the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians in Gaza. But it is more than just that, because Israel has an even bigger, more sinister agenda at play here. Because when you put this ethnic cleansing campaign in the context of, for example, Israel's plan to imminently annex the occupied West Bank, the increasing oppression of Palestinians within Israel, and the growing erasure of Palestinian identity altogether, it becomes evident that Israel's goal is to kill the idea of Palestinian statehood once and for all. It wants to kill the two-state solution, the idea of an independent Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders. It wants the whole of Palestine without compromise. And it is using what's happening in Gaza as a justification or opportunity to do all of this with little to no resistance by any of its Western allies. This is Israel's true plan, and if things continue as they are, if Western countries continue to allow Israel to trample over every red line, every law, every human right in the book, then Israel will succeed.